Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video of myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. I'm going to talk to you today about the Epstein files scandal. Yet again, I did a whole video on it yesterday to give you an update of what's going on. Actually, there are two things that came out just after I finished recording that are what you have to know. Quite incredible. The first comes from the Department of Justice Acting Deputy Chief Joseph Schnitt. So he's the guy that's under Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is in charge of the DOJ, and he is the number two. And he was recorded by an undercover journalist posing as a woman to have a date with through the app Hinge. So they got together. They had two dates, according to Schnitt, who's now come out and had to kind of explain this. And she was actually, I think, an undercover journalist for OMG, which is a right-wing news source. But of course, the right's very interested at the moment in the Epstein scandal. There's this division in MAGA because a lot of the MAGA base want the Epstein scandal, the files to be published, and a lot of the administration don't because it's going to get people in trouble. And we're going to go on to the next piece of this jigsaw afterwards because Thomas Massie announced something that was huge and implicates a massive Republican donor. But let's go to Schnitt first.
But those files do exist.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of pages of files. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files. Leave all the liberal, Democratic people in those files.
But those files do exist.
So she says those files do exist, and he says thousands and thousands of them.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of
pages.
They'll redact them.
And then he says they will redact this is the DOJ that he works for, on a date, first or second time he's ever met this woman. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files. They will leave all the liberal and democratic people in those files. Now, this is something that people like myself have suggested will happen. That whatever is released by the DOJ will not implicate any Republican or conservative and will implicate Democrats and liberals where they can. We got this sense from the Ghislaine Maxwell interview. Todd Blanche, Trump's personal lawyer, went and spoke on behalf of the government, supposedly. Went and spoke to her personally, one-on-one. And we're thinking, right, she's just going to give all the dirt on Democrats and exonerate Trump. Well, she certainly exonerated Trump. Seems as well, actually, Bill Clinton too, but she couldn't be trusted anyway, and she seems to have outright lied in her claims. But the idea that prevails is that this is a narrative that the Trump administration is going to want to control. And the way that they will control that is to get themselves off the hook and make sure that the Democrats are the ones that look like the bad guys. And that's exactly what the deputy of the DOJ is telling this woman. And we'll listen to it again because this is huge.
But those files do exist.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of pages of files. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files. Leave all the liberal, Democratic people in those files.
But those files do exist.
They'll redact them, leave all the Democrats in, take all the conservatives out. So that is incredibly incriminating. Then we have this bizarre post from the US Department of Justice. We have seen some really, I think, very unprofessional posts. So, for example, the White House yesterday posted a picture of Rosie O'Donnell, who now lives in Ireland, and they distorted her face. And they're like, what are you doing? Like, this is the official White House account, and you're doing this. Anyway, now the official DOJ Twitter page is posting incorrectly cropped iPhone screenshots of its deputy director, the one below Pam Bondi, apologizing for telling a Hinge date that the government is going to release the Epstein list after it redacts all Republican names off the list. Read that paragraph one more time. We are not in a serious country at all. So this is the screenshot that the US Department of Justice puts up. You know, there's no official statement. It's just a screenshot from a phone from the acting deputy to acting director Pollack. And it just says, Acting Director Pollack, I met a woman named Skylar on Hinge, a dating app, in July 2025. Her profile is no longer findable. That's a comma splice, but never mind. We had 2 dates, August the 4th and August the 16th. She claimed to be an au pair in Georgetown. She gave no clues that she was a reporter or recording our dates. Had I a clue, the first date would have ended immediately and there never would have been a second one. My profile indicated I did government work, but did not specify for which agency. I never discussed what I do at the DOJ. So he obviously said that he worked at the DOJ. The comments I made were my own personal comments on what I've learned in the media and not from anything I've done at or learned via work. I have no knowledge of the circumstances surrounding Ms. Maxwell other than what is reported in the news. So his claims that, let's have a look. They'll redact everything Republican or Conservative, every Republican or Conservative person in those files and leave all the Liberal Democrat people in those files. That was just something he gleaned from the media, right? Deputy Director of the DOJ has no other knowledge, right, of the Epstein files, even though Pam Bondi's had them on her desk and this is like the biggest thing in the DOJ, full stop. He's got no knowledge of that. And what he's saying is just coming from the media, right? No. So this is insanely embarrassing because this is an open admission as to what they would do. I mean, honestly, this government is a complete disaster at the moment. And I'm hoping that people are going to start seeing through them. Some of the economic data coming out at the moment should tell you really what's going on, which, the US is heading for some economic hard times by the looks of it. But anyway, I digress. Like, this is an absolute fustercluck. It really is. And then you've got this bombshell from Thomas Massie, who is, remember, one of the guys behind, there are one of the guys, because there's him as a MAGA Republican from Kentucky, representative from Kentucky, and Ro Khanna, a progressive Democrat. They are both behind this discharge petition to force a floor vote on releasing the Epstein files. He then came out yesterday and said this. Oh, and basically this was on the back of him and Ro Khanna in the CNN interview with Caitlin Collins saying that, the government want to protect people and they don't want to release the Epstein files because they want to protect money and influence and power, such as donors. And here he goes and actually names one of the donors subsequent to that interview.
Oh, let me give you the name of one of the billionaires who's running $2 million of ads in my district since I started this effort. His name is John Paulson. He's a hedge fund manager and a major donor to the Republican Party, a major donor to the Speaker of the House, a major donor to the president's campaign, and he's in Epstein's black book. Now, that's public, but that's indicative of the types of people who may be implicated or just embarrassed by a release of a completely release. So,
although what he says here is supposedly public, he's joining the dots. He's saying, look, I am having $2 million worth of ads against me in Kentucky at the moment, paid for by John Paulson. And John Paulson is in the black book of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, it's not to say that Epstein's... That's not to say John Paulson is implicated in the wrongdoing, just that he's in the black book. He's connected to the Epstein scandal in some kind of way. He's connected to Jeffrey Epstein in some kind of maybe business way or whatever. But this is not a good look because he is saying the government is he's essentially saying Trump, Johnson, and the GOP, all who have received significant funding from this billionaire John Paulson, are protecting people. These three entities are protecting people like John Paulson by not releasing the files, and I am being targeted by John Paulson because I am trying to release the files. So who is this guy? He's an American billionaire hedge fund manager, founder and CEO of Paulson & Co., known for earning one of the largest fortunes in Wall Street history by shorting the US housing market during the subprime mortgage crisis. So obviously, a thoroughly decent chap. And he's in Epstein's black book. Billionaire major donor to the Republican Party, to Mike Johnson, and to Trump himself, the Trump campaign. And according to Massie, he's in Epstein's black book. You have Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and John Paulson, all like huge donors, and you wonder, how many of these donors, how many of these names that we see so often, whether it be the Mercers or Adelsons and whatnot of the world, how many of these people are implicated, are being protected? I don't know, but certainly John Paulson there. And that was huge for Thomas Massie to come out and say that. So, we are starting to see the dots being connected, that the Trump administration obviously are going to want to protect their own. They're going to want to protect people within the administration, within Congress, and the funders of Congress, of GOP lawmakers and Trump and the Trump administration. Funders, donors, dark money, and so on and so forth. We talked about that yesterday, that the fact that, the Trump White House is calling the discharge petition a hostile act, the fact that they are putting massive pressure on the 4 Republicans and the other Republicans who were going to sign it. There were 12 of them, 11 or 12 of them back before the summer recess. And because Thomas Massie stated who they were, they've now been whipped by the party, and they might not sign up to this discharge petition. They only need 2 more Republicans to do so, Kana and Massie, for this to work, or at least to force the vote. But this is a scandal of protecting rich and powerful people, exactly as people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie are saying. There is no doubt about this. And, that may well also be a case for the Democrats as well. But all 212 Democratic representatives are looking at signing this discharge petition. So even if Democratic donors are implicated here, the Democrats are at least having some kind of moral spine, by saying we want these files published. The Republicans are falling into line behind the demands of Donald Trump and his administration as they seek to protect those moneyed interests. Anyway, let me know what you think about all this. Take care. Speak soon.